My beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes we go through things that shake us to our very core. And the first thought we have is Allah punishing me? But let me tell you something beautiful. What you called pain may have been the very mercy that was protecting you from something you couldn't see coming. Allah doesn't break your heart to harm you. He breaks it to rebuild what you were about to destroy yourself. Sometimes the pain is the answer to a dua you forgot you made. You were just trying to do your best. You were praying. You were holding on. You were trying to trust Allah. And in the quiet moments, you asked Him for help. Maybe you didn't even realize how powerful your prayer was. You said things like, Ya Allah, fix my heart. Protect me from what's not good for me. Give me what's right for me, even if I don't know what that is. Or maybe you didn't say anything at all. Maybe it was just a tear that rolled down your cheek and a feeling deep inside that said, Ya Allah, I'm tired, please change something. And then everything started to fall apart. The people you thought would always be there started distancing themselves. That one person you loved so much, they left. You lost the opportunity you thought was your big break. Your plans stopped working. Your days felt heavy. And your heart began to ache in a way you couldn't explain. So you cried again. This time not in dua but in confusion. Ya Allah, I was trying. Why did it get worse? Why this pain? Why now? But my dear brother, my dear sister, what if this pain was the answer? What if Allah heard that soft, quiet, sincere whisper from your heart and He immediately began moving your life around? Not to hurt you, but to respond to you more deeply than you've ever been responded to before. You asked Him for guidance. So He guided you away from the wrong people, even if it felt like heartbreak. You asked Him to protect your peace. So He removed the one who kept disturbing it, even if you loved them. You asked Him to bring you closer to Him. So He removed the distractions, even if they looked like dreams at the time. Because Allah doesn't just answer what comes from your mouth. He answers what comes from your heart. And sometimes what you want and what your soul needs are two very different things. You might have thought you were asking for something good, but Allah knew it would hurt you in the long run. So He blocked it. And because you couldn't see what He was protecting you from, it felt like rejection, but it was actually redirection. It was preservation. It was mercy dressed as loss. Think of it like this. If a child reaches out for fire, smiling, the parent pulls them away, right? Even if the child cries, the parent knows, one day you'll thank me. That's exactly what Allah does with us. We run toward things with excitement, thinking, this is what I need. And He gently, lovingly blocks it, even if it breaks our heart in the moment. Because He sees what we can't. He sees the years ahead. He sees the burden we were about to carry. He sees the nights we would have cried ourselves to sleep if He had given us what we asked for. So He says no, but not to punish you, only to protect you from something your eyes can't yet see. And yes, it hurts, because growth always comes with discomfort. Even a seed must split open before it becomes a tree. Even gold must pass through fire before it shines. And sometimes your soul must pass through heartbreak before it can finally taste peace. So if things are being removed from your life, if people are leaving, if everything you were building has collapsed, don't assume it's because Allah is punishing you. Ask yourself, could this be how He's answering me? Because maybe the pain didn't come to destroy your path. Maybe it came to clear it. Maybe it came to wipe away the things that were too heavy for your next season. Maybe it came to remove the voices that were drowning out His. Maybe it came to bring you back to sujood, to the moment where you finally said, only you, Ya Allah. And in that moment, Allah smiled upon you, because the version of you that spoke from that pain was the version He had been waiting for all along. One day, my dear, you look back at the heartbreak, at the loss, at the confusion, and you'll say, Ya Allah, thank you. You didn't give me what I wanted, you gave me what I needed. And that will be the most beautiful realization of your life. If He didn't shake your world, you would have settled for less. You had a plan. You were holding on to a path that made sense to you. A relationship, a dream, a person you trusted, a career you thought would carry you for years. You built your life around it. You gave it your time, your tears, your trust. And you said to yourself, this is it, I'll be okay if this stays. But then the world shook. Suddenly, without warning, what you thought was solid crumbled. The people you relied on started acting differently. The relationship you were pouring into dried up. The future you had in your head vanished. And the pain confused you. You said, Ya Allah, why? Why now? Why this? You kept thinking, wasn't I being sincere? Wasn't I grateful? Wasn't this meant for me? But my beloved, sometimes the reason Allah shakes your world is because you started settling into something far beneath what He created you for. You began adjusting your standards just to keep the wrong people. You began shrinking your dreams to fit a space that wasn't yours. You began dimming your light just so others wouldn't feel insecure around you. And slowly, without even realizing it, you started accepting less than what Allah wrote for you. So He intervened, gently but powerfully. He shook the foundation beneath you, not to break you, but to wake you. Because had He not shaken it, you would have kept pouring your soul into something that had no space for your future. You see, we are creatures of comfort. We cling to the familiar even when it's hurting us. We say it's not that bad, and we stay even when it's draining our energy, even when it's delaying our healing, even when it's pulling us further from Allah. And then one day, it all changes. The friend turns cold, the relationship ends, the job is lost, the door you loved slams shut, and your heart cries out, Ya Allah, how could you take this away from me? But what you don't realize in that moment is that He didn't take something good from you. He took something temporary from you, so He could give you something real. Because you weren't created to live in emotional survival. You weren't meant to constantly chase someone else's approval. You weren't made to fight for the bare minimum and call it love. You weren't born to stay small, just so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable with your growth. So when He saw you beginning to accept it, He shook it. He exposed the cracks. He removed the veil. He let it fall apart. And yes, it hurt. Yes, it felt unfair. Yes, you cried. But He saw something you didn't. That the thing you were holding on to was blocking what He had prepared for you. Because sometimes it's not the pain that ruins us. It's the comfort we stay in before the pain that does. Had He not allowed that heartbreak, you might have married someone who would have dimmed your soul for a lifetime. Had He not taken away that job, you would have stayed trapped in a cycle that slowly killed your purpose. Had He not removed that friend, you would have ignored the whispers in your heart telling you, this person is not sincere. We only see the removal. But Allah sees the repositioning. He's not saying, I don't love you. He's saying, I love you too much to let you waste another day tied to what isn't worthy of you. So when the shaking happens, don't panic. Pause, breathe, and ask, Ya Allah, what are you saving me from? Because He never removes without reason. And He never closes one door unless there's another one that's about to open. And what's behind the next door? Peace that doesn't make you beg for it. Love that doesn't make you question your worth. Success that doesn't drain your soul. And a version of you that isn't exhausted from carrying things that were never yours to hold. So trust the shaking. Yes, it feels like an earthquake now. But one day you look back and realize it was the moment everything finally started to fall into place. The storm that scared you was the same storm that cleared the path. And you'll say in sujood, Ya Allah, thank you. If you hadn't shaken me, I would have settled for far less than what you had written for me. When you're being isolated, it's because you're being spoken to. You used to be surrounded by people. There were always messages, plans, calls, and company. Your life felt full even if it was loud. And then suddenly it became silent. The phone stopped ringing. The invitations disappeared. The people you once thought were your closest distanced themselves. And you're sitting there wondering, Ya Allah, what's happening to me? Why am I suddenly alone? You feel isolated. You feel forgotten. You feel like no one understands what's going on inside your heart. And in those moments, the silence becomes louder than any noise you've ever heard. But listen to me, my beloved, this silence isn't a punishment. This isolation is not abandonment. This stillness that surrounds you is actually one of the greatest mercies of Allah. Because sometimes the only way He can get you to hear Him is by removing the world from around you. He takes away the noise. He pulls you out from the crowds. He disconnects you from the people who were distracting you from your own soul. Not because He's cruel, but because He's trying to talk to you directly, personally, lovingly. You see, when everyone leaves, Allah remains. When the world turns its back, He opens His door. When you can't explain what's breaking your heart, He already knows and He's waiting for you to come to Him with it. Some of the most beloved moments in your entire life will be the ones where it was just you and Allah, and the tears that no one else saw, because that's where the most sincere connection is built. That's where you start speaking from the heart. Not for show, not to impress anyone, but because you're tired and broken and raw. And you realize finally that no one else can carry what you're carrying but Him. This isolation is not random. It's divine. It's sacred. It's chosen for you. Because Allah knows what's coming. He knows you're about to grow. He knows you're about to be purified. And He knows you cannot transform into your next version while still being surrounded by the noise of your past. So He pulls you away. He doesn't isolate you to hurt you. He isolates you to elevate you. The prophets themselves were isolated. Musa, A.S., fled to the desert alone. Yusuf, As, was thrown into a well and left by his own brothers. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would go to the cave of Hira alone. And in that quiet, sacred stillness, the very first words of the Qur'an were revealed. Read in the name of your Lord. Why? Because isolation creates intimacy. It removes distraction. It opens your heart. It creates the space where you begin to finally hear. And sometimes the words Allah wants to say to you can only be heard in isolation. That tear you cried quietly, that night you couldn't sleep and stared at the ceiling wondering what's wrong with you. That day you walked home and felt like nobody saw you at all. Those were moments that your soul began whispering again. And Allah heard every whisper. You're not being pushed away. You're being drawn inward. Back to the one who created you. Back to the one who never left. Back to the one who was waiting for you to return. Without the people, without the noise, without the mask. And when that moment happens, when it's just you and Him, that's when the healing begins. That's when the real dua starts. That's when the heart becomes softer. That's when sujood feels different, not rushed, not shallow, but sincere. Because this time you're not praying because you have to. You're praying because you need to. Because you don't know where else to go. Because no one else has answers. Because you've finally understood the company you needed most was never people. It was Allah. And now that you're here in this quiet place, He's ready to show you something deeper. A version of peace that doesn't depend on anyone. A version of strength that isn't loud. A version of healing that doesn't require an audience. So, instead of asking, why is Allah leaving me alone? Start asking, what is Allah trying to show me while I'm alone? Because I promise you, this season of isolation will not last forever. But what you learn in it will stay with you for the rest of your life. And when people return, when life becomes full again, your heart will be different. Your soul will be stronger. And your connection with Allah will be unshakable. So don't rush this silence. Don't resent the loneliness. Because one day, when your soul is finally at peace, you look back at this isolation and say, that's where I found Him again. That's where I found myself again. That's when everything started to change. The break wasn't to harm you. It was to rebuild you from the inside. You felt it the moment it broke. The moment that thing you loved shattered. The moment that person you trusted left. The moment everything you built collapsed. And in that moment you sat in silence thinking, that's it. I'm done. You weren't just sad. You felt hollow. You weren't just disappointed. You were disoriented. Because it didn't just hurt your heart. It cracked something deep inside your soul. You couldn't even explain it. People around you saw you functioning, but inside something had changed. And for the first time you looked at yourself in the mirror and whispered, I don't know who I am anymore. But my dear brother, my beautiful sister, listen to me carefully. That break did not come to destroy you. It came to rebuild you. Because sometimes the only way Allah can take you to the next version of yourself is by gently, lovingly, yet powerfully shattering the old one. You were holding on to habits that were weakening you. You were tied to people who didn't see your worth. You were living in routines that were comfortable but spiritually empty. And slowly, without even realizing it, you began to forget the version of you that Allah had written for you to become. So He stepped in. He broke it. He broke the attachment. He broke the illusion. He broke the plan that you thought would save you because it was quietly suffocating you. And yes, the process hurts. Because being rebuilt means being undone first. You have to unlearn what wasn't true. You have to release what wasn't real. You have to feel the weight of what you thought was love and realize it was survival. You have to mourn the dreams that were built on foundations that Allah never approved of. That's what the breaking is. It's not cruelty. It's divine construction. Think about how a building is renovated. The walls are torn down. The floor is ripped apart. Everything is loud, messy, and unstable. And for a moment, it looks worse than before. But what's happening? A new design is being prepared. A stronger foundation is being laid. A safer, more beautiful space is being created. That's you. That's your heart. That's your life. Allah is rebuilding it from the inside out. You might be saying, but I lost so much. Yes. But He will give you back more after He makes you someone who can protect it. Someone who knows their worth. Someone who walks with Him, even when alone. Someone who doesn't need to beg for love because they know they are already loved by the one who created love itself. The break isn't the end of you. It's the end of the version of you that couldn't carry what's coming next. You were strong before, but now you're becoming unshakable. You were kind before, but now you're learning how to protect your kindness without losing yourself. You were faithful before, but now you're learning what true tawakkul feels like when you have nothing but Allah left. You see, sometimes the most powerful growth happens in the dark. When nobody's watching, when your heart is aching, when your soul feels heavy, that's where your real transformation begins. And it doesn't happen overnight. You'll cry, you'll fall, you'll pray without words. You'll wonder if you'll ever feel normal again. But slowly, your heart will soften, your thoughts will clear, your strength will return. And one morning, you'll wake up and realize, Subhanallah, I'm not the same, but I'm better. Allah didn't break you to shame you. He broke what was blocking you, what was blinding you, what was making you forget your own light. And in that breaking, He began something sacred inside of you. A rebirth, a repair, a return to Him. So don't just focus on what's been broken. Focus on what He's about to build. Because when Allah breaks, He rebuilds better. When He takes, He replaces with greater. When He delays, it's because He's preparing something deeper. And when He isolates, it's because He wants to rebuild you in private before presenting you in public. So hold on, even when it hurts, because what's being built inside of you is a version of yourself that will carry more peace, more wisdom, and more light than ever before. And one day soon, you look back at this moment, this break, and say with complete peace in your heart, Ya Allah, thank you. I thought I was falling apart, but you were actually putting me back together. The delay is a sign of Allah's precision, not His absence. You've been waiting for months, maybe even years, and you're tired. You keep praying, but nothing seems to be changing. You keep crying, but the door still feels closed. You keep asking Allah, when, Ya Rab, when will it be my turn? And the silence, it's starting to hurt more than the pain you were originally trying to fix. You look at others, they're moving on. They're getting married. They're finding peace. They're achieving what you've been praying for in secret. And deep inside your heart whispers something you never thought you'd say. Maybe Allah doesn't hear me anymore. But my dear brother, my dear sister, He hears you. He always hears you. And the delay you're experiencing is not a sign that Allah has abandoned you. It's a sign that He's being precise. You see, Allah is not like people. People rush. People panic. People throw things together and hope for the best. But Allah, He plans with perfection. He doesn't just answer based on your request. He answers based on what your soul needs at the exact moment you're ready to carry it. So if something is being delayed in your life, a marriage, a dream, a healing, a decision, it's because right now it would not serve you in the way it's meant to. You may think you're ready. You may think, I can handle it, Ya Allah, just give it to me. But only Allah knows the version of you that can receive it without losing yourself in the process. Because not every blessing is a gift. If it arrives too soon, it can become a burden. Think of it like planting a seed. If you dig it up every day to see if it's growing, you delay the growth. You kill the process. But if you water it with trust, if you leave it in the soil, if you allow it time, one day it breaks through silently, beautifully, and stronger than you ever expected. That's your life. That's your prayer. That's your timing with Allah. You see, if He gave it to you right now, when you're still tired, still unsure, still battling with doubt, you might misuse it. You might love it more than Him. You might forget the lessons that were meant to keep you grounded. So Allah holds it. Not because He's cruel, but because He's merciful enough to wait for the healed version of you before giving you what you asked for. And in that delay, You learn how to love Him even when you don't get what you want. You learn how to trust Him even when the path feels confusing. You learn how to sit in sujood, not for results, but just for the sake of being close to Him. And that closeness you develop in the waiting is more valuable than the thing you were waiting for. Because dunya blessings come and go. But the heart that stays connected to Allah, that heart is priceless. So don't rush what Allah is still writing. Don't try to kick open a door He has kept closed for a reason. Because behind that delay is a sequence of divine moves that you cannot see yet. Maybe Allah is softening someone else's heart who is meant to walk into your life. Maybe He's protecting you from something that would have hurt you 6 months from now. Maybe He's lining up a better version of the job, the place, the person, and you're about to walk into it when the timing is right. Or maybe He's just preparing you because you're going to walk into something greater than you ever imagined. And He wants your heart to be ready so you don't lose it when you finally receive it. Whatever the reason, know this, the delay is never a sign of rejection. It is always a sign of divine care. Because He could have given it to you the moment you asked. But then you would have missed the version of yourself that was going to grow during the wait. You would have missed the nights in tahajjud. You would have missed the days where your only comfort was Qur'an. You would have missed the realization that nothing in this world feels better than His remembrance. And all of that is worth far more than a rushed answer. So if you're still waiting, still crying, still wondering why it hasn't happened yet, know this, you are not waiting alone. You are waiting with Allah. And when He delivers, it will be at a time where your heart doesn't just say, finally. It will say, Ya Allah, this was better than what I ever imagined. So trust His precision. He has never been late, and He's not about to start now. What broke you was never meant to be a part of what He's building for you. It broke you. Let's not sugarcoat it. That thing you were holding on to with everything in you collapsed. That person you believed in walked away. That plan you spent years building disappeared in a moment. And now you're sitting in the rubble wondering if you did something wrong. Wondering if you're just too broken to ever be whole again. You've said to yourself, but I loved it, I gave it everything. How could it just end like this? And that question keeps echoing inside your chest like a bell that won't stop ringing. But my beloved brother, my dear sister, let me gently tell you something that may hurt at first but will heal you in ways you can't imagine. What broke you was never meant to be part of what Allah is building for you. You see, Allah has a plan for you. A real one. Not a temporary patchwork life. Not a half-loved, half-peaceful, half-fulfilled life. But a life that is built on truth, on faith, on peace, on love, that doesn't make you beg for it. And sometimes, in order to build that life for you, Allah has to remove the parts that don't belong, no matter how much you loved them. And that removal, it feels like destruction. It feels like betrayal. It feels like the end of everything you were hoping for. But in reality, it's the beginning of everything you were actually created for. You see, not every good thing is meant to go with you. Not every person you love is meant to grow with you. Not every plan you made is part of the blueprint Allah wrote for you. And sometimes we don't see the cracks. We don't hear the warnings. We hold on to something and say, but it's mine. I chose this. I built this. And Allah in His mercy says, yes, you built it, but I can see what's hiding inside it. And it won't survive the storm that's coming. So He breaks it. Not because He wants to see you suffer, but because He wants to rebuild you without it. Because if He left it in place, it would have poisoned the very future you've been praying for. Think about it. If you build a house on a cracked foundation, no matter how beautiful the walls are, one day it will collapse. And it may happen at the worst possible moment. So Allah, in His perfection, doesn't wait. He breaks it now while you're still early in the journey. So He can rebuild it stronger, so that when your blessings arrive, they don't crumble. But in the moment, it hurts. Oh, it hurts so much because you loved it, because you made plans around it, because your heart was invested in it. And watching it fall feels like watching your future vanish. But what you don't realize is that Allah wasn't just removing something, He was protecting everything. Because what if that relationship was going to cost you your peace for the next 10 years? What if that business was going to distract you from your purpose and damage your soul? What if that person you loved so much was going to slowly pull you away from Allah, one compromise at a time? And what if the version of you that was attached to that thing was actually blocking the person you were meant to become? My dear, sometimes the version of you that's crying for the past is the same version Allah is trying to release from your future. So He allows the break, He allows the ending, not to hurt you, but to free you from a prison you couldn't even see you were inside. And in that space, in that broken, silent, shattered space, He begins the rebuilding. He starts cleaning up what you didn't even know was toxic. He starts healing wounds you didn't even know were bleeding. He starts aligning your life with the direction that you never would have found if He hadn't removed what you thought you couldn't live without. And slowly, you start breathing again. You start remembering who you are. You start walking lighter. And you begin to say things like, I didn't think I'd make it, but Alhamdulillah, I'm still here. And that is the moment the real story begins. Because now, you are no longer building around things that were never meant for you. Now, you are being rebuilt on a foundation that was designed by Allah Himself. And what He builds, it lasts. It strengthens you. It gives you peace that doesn't disappear when people do. It gives you love that doesn't require you to lose your dignity. It gives you purpose that can't be stolen. So if something broke in your life, don't assume it was a failure. Ask yourself, what was Allah protecting me from? Because that break was not the end of your story. It was the chapter where you were saved. Even if you didn't realize it yet, one day you look at the thing that broke your heart and say with complete clarity, Alhamdulillah, it didn't stay. It wasn't meant to be part of what Allah is building in me now. And that, my dear, is when you will finally feel free. The real you only emerged when everything else fell away. There was a time you were surrounded by everything. People, plans, love, routine. You had a version of your life you were holding together with both hands. And even if it wasn't perfect, it made you feel safe. It made you feel seen. You knew who you were in that space. Or at least, you thought you did. Until everything began to fall away. One by one, the things you depended on disappeared. That person stopped calling. That opportunity slipped through your fingers. The confidence you once had, it vanished. Even your own reflection started to feel unfamiliar. You looked in the mirror and said, I don't recognize myself anymore. But what you didn't know and what Allah knew was that who you were becoming was closer to your real self than you've ever been before. Because sometimes, my brother, my sister, the real you can't come forward until everything else falls away. You see, life can become so noisy. We wear masks. We say yes when we want to say no. We smile for the world, even when we are breaking inside. We build an identity around roles, around relationships, around reputation, and slowly we lose the soul underneath all of it. And Allah in His infinite love knows that your heart was not created to serve this world. It was created to serve Him, to remember Him, to be at peace in His presence, not in the applause of people. So when you drift too far from your real self, Allah pulls you back, not always with ease, but with truth. And that truth often arrives as loss, because loss has a way of peeling back the layers we thought we needed. When that person left, you began speaking to Allah more sincerely. When that plan failed, you turned back to Him, not with frustration, but with humility. When the comfort disappeared, you discovered that you were stronger than you thought, that you could survive what you once said would destroy you. That's not a small realization. That's a spiritual awakening. Because until now,